Are you looking for organic grown CBD products? Well, check out Essentially Yours CBD Spot. The Essentially Yours CBD Spot LLC offers organically grown CBD products. Their passion is to help you become a healthier you naturally, non-GMO, gluten-free, and vegan-friendly. So go to www.essentiallyyourcbdspot.com. How do you start your day? You set your tone. You're the master of either a good day or a bad one. You're the master of a terrific week or that of a terrible one. It's all in your mindset. Do you start your day off positively or do you start it off in a dreadful tone? I've shared this personal story several times, how I used to wake up when I worked in an industry that made me extremely unhappy. Every single morning I'd say to myself that I was stuck. Instead of being blessed to see another day, my mind was set to hopeless. Are you setting a positive tone for each day? How are you setting the tone for your life in general? This is a time where you can think positively. Everything is in your mindset. Right now, I have a wonderful 7-day motivational entitled the Go Love Yourself Daily Crown Jewels, the 7-day motivational. Head over to www.goqueen.com and download your free copy of the 7-day motivational map. You can also go to www.goqueen.com and download the full color PDF 7-day motivational guide. This guide is also available on Amazon.com. So go ahead, change your mindset, and remember, every single day you can go love yourself and have a winner's mindset. Go Queen! Thank you for joining the Go Queen Brand Podcast, the Key Chat. So my name's Shonda, and I'm doing a new episode today, and I have a TV personality, actress, and comedian and model, and her name is Miss Stephanie Tejada, and she's really funny. Like, she has this really funny video that I suggest you guys go catch. It's the WAP, so it's like really funny, and I'll get her a chance to talk about that, but I want to start off and give her a chance to introduce herself. So how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing good. You did an amazing job at my introduction. I don't know what else I could say.
Let me pat myself on the back. So let's start off first. Before we dive into this funny video, and I was going to ask you some other questions about your background, just like start off from the beginning, like, what were your roots? Like, where did you get started? I know you were born in Florida because I did read over your bio. You're raised in the Bronx. So, like, what were your little roots? Let's tell us about little Stephanie, like, did you just start out the gate, making people laugh? Like, just tell us about, like, where you got started.
Yeah, I'll definitely say, Lil Stephanie, I've always been doing the impressions and the voices and cracking jokes. And I've always been that person since I was a little kid. I didn't think I was going to be a comedian when I was a little kid and just being this way. It was just who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always in my heart to do comedy. I would say my first gig in the entertainment industry was modeling. I did modeling for a while. I got to host a local Manhattan TV show called Signature Hits TV, where we would kind of do like the E-News thing. We would go to like celebrity events and I would like interview celebrities and do the red carpet thing. So that was cool. From there, I did some go-go dancing for like 7 years of my life. I was the party starter officially.
Okay.
And then I got picked up for, a really iconic reality show about women empowerment and beautiful women coming together to help each other and support each other called the Bad Girls Club. And from there, I feel like I found my purpose after that. I feel like comedy, I moved to California, started doing comedy, and I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing because it's just been like rocket, like takeoff. Like it's just going so good. So I'm very excited. So that's me.
Wow. So you said you started off doing impersonation. So what made you start doing that? Like, and who were like some of the favorite people you liked to impersonate when you were younger?
I have no idea why I did it. I just liked it. I used to do cartoons. Like I would do like Bugs Bunny. I remember my dad, he would be like at the dinner table. We'd have like family dinners and he would be like, do the impression of the pastor. Cause I would like to do the pastor from To America when he's,
wow.
a big speech about the Lord being good and Gilligan's Island. I would do like the whole speech. Like, just imagine like a 5-year-old child, just like word for word, verbatim, at a family gathering. And my dad's like, do it, do the thing.
So, did you have any other people in your family that were like really funny, that just kind of made everybody laugh during family events or things like that? Or did you hold the crown for that?
I feel like my dad is definitely like the open comic. Like, he's always cracking jokes, and he's always been like that. My mom is naturally goofy. Like, she is a personality and a half, but it's just who she is too. And then I got a lot of crazy relatives, so I just been inspired by just everybody, I think.
Wow. So, I know fast forward, you mentioned getting on the Bad Girls Club. So, just how did that start? How did you get booked on that? And did you think prior, like, hey, I want to get on a reality TV show? Is it something that just kind of fell in your lap to get on there?
Bad Girls Club was something that I knew about growing up because my mom and my aunts used to watch it. And I remember being too young. They were like, you can't watch this stuff. You can't watch it. You can't watch it. Me and my cousins would watch it anyway. And it was just a show that we really liked. I don't know what it was about it. I think it was just like, it was the first show where it was like just all girls, It wasn't even about the fights or any. It was just like, yo, this is a house with all girls. This is the perfect like reality show. So we just always had a love for it. And then I knew I was going to be on that show eventually. I always said it. But I had auditioned, like, I think it was 2 years before the one I got picked. It was
Mm-hmm.
like season. And I remember I got a call back, and I was doing the Skype interview with them. And I was in Florida at the time. And there was a hurricane, and literally all the power went out in the middle of my Skype. I was about to go dance. I remember I was like, okay, I'll be right back. I changed, came back. I was like, okay. And then, power outage. I was like, no. And they never
Wow.
called. I knew. I was like, well, that's that, because there's hundreds of girls who want to do this. So I was like, that's that. And then 2 years later, they contacted me for the social media season. I guess they were doing things a little different since it was based on social media. They were kind of like scouting for us. And I guess they still have my contact. They saw my social media, and that was that.
Wow. So, what was that experience like being on there and being around, the other women, obviously? Like, did you guys get along? Like, how did that go?
It was first of all, it was like, I'm really here right now. Like, that was crazy. And it was surreal. Like, every day waking up to a camera like in my face. I'm like, y'all don't need a shot. You don't need the shot of me drooling in my bonnet right now. Like, you don't need this. Why are we doing this? So getting used to that was a lot. As far as the girls, I'm really cool. I don't really like beef with people. So it might be like little petty things, like just living with people in general. Like, oh my gosh, like this stink is disgusting. Like, somebody left the pad in the trash, like, dumb stuff like that. But I really didn't have too much like harbored hatred or like anger towards anybody. Just like little, like, I don't know, like basic roommate like bickers.
Right. Okay. Okay. Now, with the Bad Girls Club, I know you mentioned that you really kind of dived into stand-up comedy. Was that afterwards, after being on the show? Did that kind of spark you to want to get on the stage, though, to tell jokes, or was it prior?
So it's almost like Bad Girls Club kind of set me up for this, because since the season was based on social media, they were kind of trying to make everybody, I don't know if you saw my season, but basically they were trying to have us all work on whatever our niche was. So like anybody who did music was like in a recording session, and they actually got to work on their music and perform at open mics. So for my thing, they had me prank the girls um in an improv class. They thought they were just getting taught an improv class, and then I'm like, haha, I'm the new bitch. and then from there, it's so funny how like the world works and how things work out. We did they wanted to do a roast, so like we roasted each other. So they brought in this comedian, shout out to Alex Hooper. He actually was just on America's Got Talent,
Wow.
his thing on there. So we did a roast. So they kind of pushed me into that aspect of comedy. I was never like, oh, I'm going to do improv and do stand up and do roast. Like, that was never my plan. So they pushed me in that direction, I guess, because I was known for like videos, impressions, characters, but there's not like venues where I could be like, hey guys, this is my impression of, you know what I mean? So they had to like think outside the box for me, which was really cool, because it took me to a place that I wasn't even like, I never thought I'd be. So I was like, oh, I'm doing a roast and I'm killing it right now.
Oh, wow.
and
So,
then and then it's so great, because when I moved to California and got into comedy, I did my first roast battle at the Comedy Store, and Jeffrey Ross and all these amazing comedians were judging, and Alex Hooper was there. And he was the same guy who was the one who taught us in the Bad Girls Club to structure a roast. And he saw me. He was like, my favorite Bad Girl. I was like, oh my gosh, you're here in my actual first roast. And you're like my sensei, like my sensei of like roast battles. Isn't
So
crazy?
okay, now we know, and I've seen Jeff Ross on like those little battle shows on Comedy Central, which I thought was really funny. And ironically, he was actually one of the hosts when I saw Chris Rock, I want to say 2-3 years ago at the Sanger Theater in New Orleans. And actually, one of the opening acts got booed off the stage. Like, New Orleans is not like a good crowd if you're not gonna kill it. So that was kind of awkward, but that's a whole different story that we could probably discuss outside of recording. And I've seen him on television, so I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna blast his name, but he got booed off the stage like big time. Like, he was one of the opening acts when Chris Rock came, and I was like, oh wow, this is like rough. But speaking of, like, just describe, how is that, joining, stand-up comedian, like the stand-up comedian world? Because like I said, I've personally seen someone get booed off the stage. Like, they didn't give him a freaking chance. So what challenges are there just getting on that stage, and because I mean, you're kind of like relying on the audience, right? Like, when you're telling your jokes, make sure they're kind, and if they're receptive to your comedy, like, describe how that is.
It's the most vulnerable situation I think anybody can ever put themselves in, because like you said, you don't know how this crowd is going to react. You can always try to assess the crowd. Like, that's one of the things I know, like, not to say it like that, but an urban crowd, you're going to hit different jokes versus the ritzy crowd from Beverly Hills. It's going to be a different take. So assessing your crowd before you get on stage is really good. But even then, I haven't really been like booed or heckled more than once. I had one guy, he was just drunk. He ain't even give me, it's like he was already booing everybody. He was already just fed up. So I feel like most of the times in those situations, it's just some arrogant drunk person. It's not a lot of people who are just like, boo, you suck, like for no reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
So personally, I've only been in that situation once, and it was just a drunk old man. I felt like I was at the damn Apollo. I was like, oh shit, they about to start tap dancing.
Oh, wow. So like I said, you said you only had that one situation, but how did you handle it? Did you kind of like snap back at them, or did you just ignore them?
I kind of snapped back and then got off the stage because it was just so rowdy at that point that I was like, all right, I'm not even gonna just entertain this. I was like, I did my little intro. They liked it. People were mad at him too. I remember people were cursing him out, like, hey, give her a chance. She's funny. But, hey, man.
Wow.
But I basically like roasted him. I remember I just kind of looked at him and assessed him, and I was like, man, you just mad because they booed you off the reboot of Sanford and Son or something like that. And then I told him that he, if he's so upset, maybe he should come up here and tell jokes. Hey, like, don't tap me J-Lo. And I was like,
wow.
So I just kind of asked the host of the show what I should do. And at that point, they had ended the show because it was just like that guy, he had ruined it. He like ruined the entire, I'm telling you, he was booing everybody. Like, before we even had a chance, it was just wasted old man.
Wow. So as a female comedian, do you feel like there's like different like barriers that you kind of have to overcome as a female comedian as opposed to your male counterparts?
Oh, definitely. I feel like comedy is dominated by, it's a male dominated industry. It definitely, there's not nearly half as many female comedians as there are male comedians. So there's that, you always get the stigma, especially if you're like an attractive female. I don't know what it is, but if you like a little cute, like I'm talking about, you could be a 4. And you try to do comedy, they'll be like, pretty girl just trying to do something with herself. Oh, she's not gonna be funny. And then they're like, oh shit, you killed it. So you have a lot of just kind of like stereotypes that you got to deal with, like, oh, the pretty girls aren't funny. Pretty girls are never funny. So, and then you also, but like honestly, it works to my advantage because they're like, oh yeah, would you like to be on the show? And I'm like, okay, because they want to just work with you. So you know how men are,
right? I mean, to be honest, yeah, they look at looks. We know that.
It's a power. Pussy power is real, y'all, and you got to use it. So I'll be like, okay, you think I'm cute? Book me on your show, and that's that. That's that. There it is.
Now, is it like a double-edged sword though? Because like I find that like for attractive women, it's like it's an advantage, but then sometimes people kind of like sometimes they may get kind of overly, fresh or whatever, like, so like, is it like a double-edged sword? Do you have to like sometimes tell people like, hey, back off, like, like, don't, cross the line with me? Do you ever have those type of moments where some men have just gotten like really out of control and they just kind of take it too far and make things awkward?
Not really with comedy. I haven't had anyone like, like try anything on me. They always try to be like, oh, so you're so pretty. What's up with you? Maybe we could write together. I'm like, first of all, I write my own jokes, sir. And second of all, no, I have a man. So I ain't gonna be writing nothing with you. Uh, so I'm always like quick to put people in their place. I'm very like, I guess bitchy, but you have to be. You got to be dominant. You got to let them know. You could be nice, okay, but now I'm here. I already got booked. So let me tell you what's really up.
Right, right. Who are
But
like
I've
some of your?
never
I'm
been in a
sorry.
situation where like someone like touched me or trying to get physical or like anything beyond like just simply asking, inquiring.
That's good. And it's sad that like I even have to think to ask that, but like you hear these stories sometimes and like you hear like people from the, like actresses and they'll bring up something that happened like years ago and you're like, damn, so and
Oh
so's
yeah,
really that bad. It's like really shocking. So that's good
I
to know that they're
when
behaving
I,
themselves.
yeah, definitely. When I worked in the nightclubs and I was a go-go dancer, a little bit more than not that would happen, but it was never like really from employers, just kind of like drunk people at the club because it's the club. So, but I'm crazy. I would have like pepper spray in my dance boot, and we always had security and stuff. So it was never like a dangerous situation, but I definitely dealt with it more then when I was modeling versus like now doing comedy.
So when you decided to go into stand up, were there like any particular, stand up comedians that really influenced you? And I know like you mentioned like, and it is true, like the comedy world really is dominated by men. I mean, when you see like the major comedic stars, I mean, I was trying to think of some females like before I set up this interview and I was like, Melissa McCarthy, I couldn't like really like think of like a list of like huge stars, I mean, I know like Tiffany Haddish broke out with
Mm-hmm.
Girls Trip, but even after that point, I think she got kind of stagnant
Yeah.
and people started like, oh, well, she's not really funny. She's not really a stand comedian. I felt like she was dealing with that a lot afterwards. And I really just couldn't think of like, okay, the major female, comedic star, but the male counterparts is like, okay, Kevin Hart, it's like so many people that just came off the top of my head or whatever. So who do you think like really like inspired you or you just kind of watched and said, hey, I could do that, or they kind of hype me up to get on that stage too. Like, were there any particular comedians that you really kind of felt inspired by?
It's sad to say, but as far as the females, like you said, there's not really too many. I definitely love the queens of comedy, and I think that's where my comedy, the new queen of comedy, from because they were just like the greatest female comedian like lineup I've seen. It. They had like Mo, they had Andell, like they had so many good people. So, but my favorites are Dave Chappelle.
I love him.
I just his storytelling methods is how I aspire to be. Like if you ever see my stand up, you'll be like, there's no way this really happened. But the way I'm telling it is like it really happened. And you're like, but there's no ways. And that's what Dave Chappelle does. He makes you think, did he get held up by a guy on the bus who was trying to jerk off on the bus? Did that really happen? You know, his stories are so compelling. So Dave Chappelle definitely is one who inspires me as far as my storytelling. He hasn't done stand up in forever, but I absolutely loved Eddie Murphy, and I wish that he would do more stand up again. And I think he was so amazing. Um, he's not that like he's not very liked right now. The cancel culture kind of came from him for some underage supposed story anyway. But Chris D'Elia, I love Chris D'Elia because he doesn't give two shits what anybody thinks. He's just on there having fun and he says anything. He doesn't care if he offends you. He'll like I love he's like real comedy. Like he just goes there and he's unapologetic about it. And that's where I go. So those are my three like favorites.
Yeah, and I have a few years on you. It's like when I was a kid, like Eddie Murphy was like everything. Cause I mean, especially when I was coming up, like first of all, they didn't really have many black comedians on TV anyway. And he was on Saturday Night Live. It was like, wow. And then, when he came up with Delirious and Raw, like that
Yeah.
was unheard of. Like, who did you really see people going to the actual movie theater as a comedian, to see like a comedy set, So obviously he's a big deal. Richard Pryor, Red Fox, of course. As far as like the female counterparts, which it's just such a shame that we really got to like gee, think hard. You have the Queens of Comedy, but even then, that wasn't like as big as the Kings of Comedy. Like, are there any other like female comedians that you thought of like prior that was like you kind of watched and had like a little blueprint? Like, okay, I wouldn't mind following their career, or did they have any female comedians that had some level of an influence over you?
Yeah, I really like Monique and some more. Also, she's new, but I just think I think she's gonna blow up. I think funny Ada Rodriguez is absolutely hilarious. She just reminds me of my cousins, like just like
Yeah.
talking smack. I just know she's so relatable to me. Um, but yeah, Angela Johnson's really fun too. I mean, I haven't seen too much of her actual stand-up. I've seen like 2 of her shows, but I like how she incorporates her voices and her characters into her stand-up as well. So yeah.
I just wish that things were a little different because I know, like, for example, Def Comedy Jam had like their little their anniversary thing last year or whatever, and they were bringing out like a lot of old comics, and a lot of the females they brought out, I was like, wow, I haven't seen this chick since Def Comedy Jam. Like, it was just like really weird. I'm like, even I think some female comedians, at least from the ones I was seeing then, it seems like they're just on the road a lot. They just didn't reach that level of fame, which is a shame. You know what I'm saying? Because they're obviously really talented. What other obstacles do you think this? Let's say someone will listen to this, okay, and they want to be a comedian. They're female, they're really funny or whatever, but they don't necessarily know how to start. What do you think are just some of the typical things that the average female comedian would have to deal with when they're trying to get their start?
One of the things that I tell all comedians, is like you have to have something. So even me, I wasn't, I didn't have any like stand-up experience, but I was like, this is some of the comedy stuff I'm into. This is just an opportunity. I'm trying to get into it. So if you're just like starting off, don't be scared to start off. You know what I mean? You got to reach out to people. Don't expect people to just book you because you on Instagram. That is not going to happen. No matter how many followers you have to make the first move. You have to reach out first and hit as many open mics as you can. Don't be scared to get out there. It may go well, may not, but you're going to learn from each show. Every time you get on that stage is an opportunity to grow.
And I'm glad you actually mentioned IG. So do you feel that social media is like a good thing now for comedians? Because I mean, we know like there's like a set of some people who they kind of started their career off, doing like the little videos on IG. Like I could think of probably like Just Hilarious and a few other that comes to the top of my head that they were doing the little videos and then they ended up on television shows, things like that. So do you
Mm-hmm.
think social media and IG is like a really, really good thing now for new comics? Like that's another platform for them to get their art out?
Yeah, I think you should be using like everything. Like every social media platform that you can get on, you should be on. Social media is the new billboard, it's the new radio commercial, it's the new TV commercial. You have to be on social media. It's a different generation. People are doing things different and we have to adapt. And you think about it. When's the last time you heard the radio and was like listening to the commercials and wrote somebody's phone number down to actually buy something and do something? Like
Right.
people don't do that no more.
Right.
So you got to get with the times. And social media is one of those things that, if you know how to use and you utilize these tools, they will help you very much. A
Right.
following is honestly more likely to get you a lead than actual talent. And it's sad to say that, but that's where we're at now. It's like, how many people can you bring to watch the show? Okay, maybe you're not as good as an actor, but you can get us more views. So like it's different now and you really have to consider that.
That is true. I mean, social media is like it's taken off, and I definitely think that. And I know some people don't like social media, and like you mentioned, it could kind of open the playing floor for people who may not be talented. But hey, you got to get in there where how you can fit in. So like, I think social media has been pretty cool. So speaking of social media, and I know I mentioned it a few times, so you sent me this funny video the other day. So obviously, WAP is the big thing, but break down for people who are listening, okay, how you took on WAP, because I know a lot of people have been taking that acronym and doing different things with it, but you did a funny twist on it. So can you please tell people who are going to listen to this, who haven't caught the video yet, which I plan to repost it, but I want to wait until I release the podcast episode, but tell people your take on WAP, what you did with it.
So it wasn't just me, COVID and stuff, there's not really a lot of to like stand up and do live shows. So we started this little sketch group where we like kind of just throw ideas and like see who wants to film today. And the first sketch that somebody suggested was a WAP parody. We were just throwing different things out, and we finally decided Wise Ash Pusher was going to be the name of the song. And it was going to be for the grandmas, for the old ladies, for all the wisdom, for all the people with class, for all the people who waited till he did put a ring on it. It was just going to be that old school way of thinking, like how people thought in like the 1950s. You know what I mean? Like how your grandma thinks. That's what I feel like. I even looked like my grandmother in this video. So I just feel like it was inspired by everybody's grandma. Shout out to Grace, Aubrey. Shout out to Kermera, Car the Comic, Joanne Thompson, Jacqueline Pissarro for being part of it. And we just did our thing. We basically just took old lady stereotypes and made it into an amazing parody rap song. And we killed the flow. My girl Janae killed her Megan Thee Stallion flow. I wrote it out. She wrote some stuff. We was in there. Okay. All right. It's a bar. Let's go.
That is so funny. So you guys heard it. If y'all want to hear the wise ass pussy version, definitely. And before the episode's over, she's going to give you guys some file information, but you heard it. So she has the other take on it. So if you can imagine your grandma or your mama talking about some wise ass pussy, I suggest you go to Stephanie's page.
We got the depends on, and we twerking, we busting the splits.
It was pretty funny. So I know, like, obviously you mentioned, like, clearly you write comedy too. So let's say that you had, like, let's say somebody came to me tomorrow and they're like, okay, Stephanie, I want you to give me your top 5 dream list of someone that you could either collaborate with or write with or even starring something with. Who would be like your top 5? And that's kind of throwback, like a shout out to Chris Rock, because he had that movie Top 5, which a lot of people didn't watch, but hey, he had that movie Top 5 where that was a big thing. So who would be your top 5?
My top 5, I would want to do stand up. I would love to, like, if Dave Chappelle was like, oh, I need a comedian to open up for me, I will open up for him and do 3 minutes and be ecstatic. I just want to work with him. Like, let me do one joke, Dave. Dave Chappelle for sure. I would love to work with him on stand up. I would love to be in a Kevin Hart movie. Jim Carrey, anything with Jim Carrey. He doesn't do stand up, but he is like the best. He's my favorite comedian of all time. And Lucille Ball, dead or alive. I would Lucille Ball. I would want to work with Ada Rodriguez just because I feel like she's a Latina in comedy coming up like me, and I think we could do some amazing things together for our Latin community. I would like to do more stand-up with Chris D'Elia. I want to be on Joe Rogan's podcast.
We all want to be on Joe Rogan's podcast.
We do. Like, what are we talking about today, Joe? Let's just talk. Let's get high and just talk to him.
Right. I think everybody wants to get on that show.
Yeah. Theo Vaughn. I absolutely love Kristen Wiig. I want to be on Saturday Night Live, honestly. So, yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that's 5.
And speaking of Saturday Night Live, that kind of just dawned on me because, like, I'm one of those people that like watch Saturday Night Live. I've been watching Saturday Night Live since like for freaking ever. And I know, like, with COVID, and the funny thing is, like, when COVID happened and everything was stopping and blah blah blah, and then they mentioned, oh, Saturday Night Live has to shut down. It never dawned on me. I'm like, oh, duh, I was like, oh man, like, I just never thought about it. So when they started doing, the little Saturday Night Live at home, that was like super funny and it was real clever. Like, so I got to give them 100% props because that was really cool, for the Saturday Night Live fans. So did COVID affect, your career at any level? Like, what's happening now? Like, with stand-up, are they still having comedy shows at comedy clubs? Like, like, did that affect anything for you?
Girl, yes. The last time I did a live show was at the Ontario Improv, March 10th. And we are now September 4th. So it's been like, 7 months?
Damn. Are they doing, are there any virtual opportunities at all? Like, I've seen a few comedians try to, incorporate some virtual things. Like, is anything like that happening for you?
Yeah, I'm doing the virtual shows. I've done a few Zoom shows. Some, like people do like their own events where they have these private links. I've done stuff like that. I also started OnlyFans to do my own weekly stand-up show just to kind of keep me sharp so I don't lose my touch. So you can go on my OnlyFans and I do like stand-up every week on there. And I booked some outdoor shows now that things are kind of slowing down for next month. Actually, I have one next week, but it's outside and you have to wear a mask. So I'm not really comfortable just doing normal shows where, people aren't taking precaution. I'm one of those people who wears a mask and I got hand sanitizer in my purse, in my pocket, in my car. So I'm personally not comfortable doing regular live shows where, like I said, they're not taking precautions. Right now I'm doing a Zoom thing and starting to book outdoor events. So, but it
Yeah.
sucks. It's been bad.
Yeah, this is absolutely crazy. Like, it really is. So, what are your future plans, though? I mean, I know obviously COVID is just like absolutely nuts and it's affected so many people on so many levels that do like creative things like that. But, like, do you have any, like, what's your future plans? Like, any writing things, lined up or just anything that maybe once COVID is over, like, are there any other things that maybe that you have like a huge, thing on your list that's going to take place maybe after this is over with? Like, so what's in the future for you?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm part of a stand-up special on Damon Dash Network. That's something that you guys can see on his network. It's called the Comedy Parlor Quarantine Edition. Uh, so that's one thing. As far as the future after COVID, I feel like I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'll be doing live stand up again. Um, my friend Jacqueline keeps pushing me into more writing. She's just like, "You're so good." She's like, "You can write, you can write." I actually submitted for a sketch comedy show to be a writer. So we'll see about that. And my store, the Queen's Closet shop, is doing really good. We actually have our first pop-up event, hopefully if COVID doesn't get worse again, because it's supposed to happen in August and then
Oh,
we put till September, now October, so it just keeps getting pushed back. But it's my first pop-up for my store, so I'm excited about that. Besides that, I believe I will be touring. That's in the works, doing an all-female comedy tour. It just kind of depends on what happens with this. I don't really have dates and stuff solidified. I know my future plans are to continue to just be a comedian, get into more acting, continue to grow my store and my brand. I do want to do my shelter and my Laughter Heals All charity, which is basically going to be a shelter where like you can have people, but like how most shelters you can't bring animals, so a lot of people have to like abandon their dogs and their cats, and it's just so sad. And I'm an animal lover, so I'm like, I want to create a shelter where people can be like, I'm homeless but I have a dog, and we have like kennels and like places, and we can keep your animals too, so you don't have to like get rid of your animal, because animals are like family. And I want to offer medicine and vaccinations. We're going to have like job programs like already like working with us so that we can get these people actual employment and help them really make a difference. Like, no, not dissing any shelter. Shelters are amazing. They do so much to help people, but they're not making a change. I want to make a change where like we actually help this homeless man get clean. We give him a haircut, put him in a suit, and send him off to a job interview. Like, we already have people who are looking to hire people, and they know the situation. They know it's going to be, you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to doing that for sure. That's in my 5-year plan.
nice, nice. I love it. So, one other thing I noticed when I was going through your bio, you mentioned that Audrey Hepburn actually, there's some quotes of hers that you like. Can you like elaborate on that? So, because I know like she's definitely not a comedian, but way has she influenced you?
I think Audrey Hepburn is so she's just one of those people who, like I said, I look up to. She's unapologetically herself. Every Audrey Hepburn movie, I don't know, just touched my soul. I just think her heart is so like, she's such a good person. She was such a good person. She was always so helpful and so sweet and so patient, and just her demeanor and how she like is. She was like royalty to me. I was like, wow, such grace.
And what was the favorite quote? I know you had a favorite quote. Do you want to share it?
I don't even remember the damn quote, to be honest. I haven't updated
Man, I
it.
should have memorized your bio. I'm so
What?
sorry.
What was it?
Well, I can pull out the laptop, but I was like, okay, let me see if you wanted to quote her, but because I love Audrey Hepburn too, though, so I know that famous picture too, like when she has a cigarette from Breakfast from Tiffany's. But actually, let me pull it up. Let me help you. So, and I'm half blind, so let me see what the quote was. Okay, so it was nothing is impossible. The world itself says I'm possible. So I think that's a good thing to share with people in general, just to inspire everybody. I know we mentioned Audrey Hepburn and how she influenced you. Do you ever have any aspirations to maybe in the future do anything like dramatic if you had a chance to do any type of dramatic roles? Or are you like strictly, like you just like to make people laugh?
It would have to be the right role. Like, I did audition to be Selena in the Netflix reboot that they're doing. And that was hard because I've never been like trained as an actor or actress really, but I went on YouTube for like that whole weekend and I learned how to cry on cue and I killed my audition even though I didn't get casted. So if it was the right opportunity, I would definitely jump on it. I'm a person who I'll try it. I don't really say no unless it's like dangerous to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very outgoing person and I just have this like crazy belief in myself. Like everything I try, I'm great at. And I believe that. So I feel like if I really wanted the role and I thought it was a good role, I would go for it.
Hey, that's the best way to think. Trust me. I mean, that's the best way to think, to have that confidence. So if there was like, okay, so if you had to think of like, what's your go-to movie to laugh? Like, like if you having like the worst freaking day ever and you just know if you throw on this movie, it's going to just bust a gut. Like, what's your go-to funny movie?
Coming to America, easy.
Yes,
Like
definitely. I can watch that movie like a billion times. I think
I think,
I can watch that one and Trading Places too, actually.
oh, I do like Trading Places, but Coming to America, I don't know. It doesn't get old. I know every line, every word. Like I love it. It doesn't get old. What's so funny? My mom was watching that movie in the theaters and she had contractions to give birth to me. And now that's my favorite movie. Isn't that wild?
Wow.
That's a true story.
See, that's that Eddie connection then. So that says a lot. That's like when he had hosted Saturday Night Live in December, and I know that was like a big deal. And when he just started doing those old characters, I was like,
uh,
this is so special. I was like,
it is.
and I felt like such an old geezer because I was trying to explain it to my kids, like how iconic this was. And they were like, huh? Just like, gosh, I need more adult friends. It's like they were just like, whatever. Like, we don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, you're always, oh, well, when I was a kid, this was funny. Like,
Back
kids,
in my day.
right? Like, they get really tired of hearing that. But my kids actually do like Coming to America too. So I think I can give myself a gold star for motherhood. At least introducing Coming to America to them. But that is a funny movie. So
Just so many classic like lines and characters and even the bloopers. Oh man, so good.
right. And it's just no one, I don't think anyone really does like a lot of those characters in like one movie as much as he did. I mean, I know Tyler Perry will do like what Medea and a Little Uncle, but like Eddie was playing every freaking body. And that one, Nutty Professor, like that was his thing. So I don't think anyone's really, you know, cornered that since him, pretty much.
Right. Marlon Wayans just did something. I forgot what the
Oh
movie was.
yeah, he did. Sextuplets or whatever it was called for Netflix. Yeah, he did do a ton of characters. So that is
And
true.
I was like, okay, this is cool because that's what I do. If you see my stuff, I all kinds of characters.
So that's inspiration for you. So let's say you had to do like your dream script and you were gonna do something similar. Yeah, okay, like with a bunch of like if you want to throw in all your characters in a movie, like what would be the setup? Like if you got the chance to do something like that.
It would have to be like they're just a crazy family. They would have to live together somehow and be involved and maybe David Lane the magician is like the loser brother of Rochette and then Connie the crackhead is that one aunt who just is always, down. Then you got the old Spanish mom. You got, let's see, all the celebrity impersonations. Yeah. I have my new 50s jazz singer Rita Sinclair. She's on OnlyFans, but I'm gonna start bringing her out because people like her a lot.
So who is your favorite character to play?
I love Racheta. Everybody loves Racheta. I love Racheta. She's just inspired by that stuff that, like, I don't know. I don't know if, like, you have hoe friends or, like, but
Trust me,
she's
they're
inspired
not.
by her.
I definitely have some. Yeah, so
You see
just
what I'm
give us everything about that character.
So Racheta is inspired by my hoe friends, my the inner hoe tendencies that every woman has, but we won't fulfill. Like, I know we've all thought about getting flued out once. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We've all thought about it. But some of us don't do it. Racheta does it. She goes there, and she's inspired by a lot of girls that I met working in the nightclubs and stuff. Honestly.
So Ratata is like basically our was whole goals basically.
She's the hoe friend. She's that progressive insurance policy, the one who gets free bottles and stuff.
That is hilarious. So I know, like you said, you have the Queen store on your site. So the way I've been ending all the podcast episodes, and we are going to make sure everyone gets all your contact information. But I've been rounding out episodes asking people to give me the definition of a queen. So I'm thinking, like, should I spin yours a little bit? Like, like, can you give me a definition of a funny queen?
Yeah.
Can you give me that definition?
Well, I go by the new queen of comedy because I just feel like I'm going to take over this. And a queen in general is someone who is true to themselves, cares about others, but doesn't care enough to change who they are. And she's a boss. She can handle stuff on her own. She got it. You know?
I like that. And I'm happy you didn't give me like the polite queen. And I'm not knocking anybody else I've asked this question to. But but I'm happy that you threw that in there. Like, like, yeah, like you can be a queen and like look out for yourself. So I'm so happy that you said that. So I really enjoyed this. It was super funny, but I want you to make sure that you give everybody all your information, where they can find you, your IG, YouTube. Of course, you said you got the OnlyFans, but you're doing that exclusive stuff too. So tell everybody how they can find you.
So I'm Stephanie Tejada, aka the new queen of comedy. You can go to my website, stephanietejada.com, and see everything I have there. Or you just click the link in my bio of Instagram, which is Stephanie Tejada, with 2 A's at the end. And click that link in my bio. You'll see all my social media, my OnlyFans. By the way, I'm not doing no explicit content on OnlyFans. It's like a fan club.
Yeah, give that disclaimer.
Yeah. No ratchetness on it. Okay, you might see some sexy photos, Maxim style, but you ain't gonna see no nudity. Not gonna see no sexual nothing. A lot of Freestyle Fridays. My talk show with Racheta and Angie called The Sociopath and the Psychopath every Wednesday. See some covers from Rita Sinclair, the 50 jazz singer. You get first looks at a lot of stuff that goes on my social media. I put it there first. That's one of the perks. I have merchandise that you can only get from my OnlyFans. You can get roasted by me on there. You can get a rap song, a personal rap song. And shop my store, y'all. Home of the hilarious and the look for less. The Queen's Closet Shop. That's the queensclosetshop.com.
So I want to add something else. So your character, the little old singer, the old lady, if she had to round out this episode, can you like say something in like her voice, like just anything, like what she would want to tell the audience or how she would want to end the show? She got the mic in front of her and the spotlight on her and she was on stage. How would she end everything? Or what would she say to entertain us?
What would the old lady say? Let's see. All right, let me put in my old lady voice now. It's abuelita, and I'm gonna tell you something that I should have told my daughter. If he ain't gonna put a ring on it, then don't put a condom on it. Don't sleep with him if he is not gonna take you serious. You wait until that ring goes on your finger, or else let him linger. Granny.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't even let you get it out. That is. You heard it, Queen. So that's advice that we can take right now. So
that's coming from wise ass pussy.
Yes, wise ass pussy has spoken, y'all. So make sure, like, she gave you all her contact information, and like I said, when I release this, I'm going to make sure that I repost the Wise Ass Pussy video when this comes out. So when you guys need that laugh, this is the episode for you. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Like I just, like I said, I appreciate you blessing this itty bitty podcast. You know, I really appreciate it. And thank you for making us laugh.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Q Chat podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Queen's Arrogance LLC. Our company website is www.goqueen.com.